If you can't touch your toes, you may not be doing it right. Watch this video to figure out how. Dr. Nicholas Mercer with You Improve PT. So a lot of people kind of look at the ability to touch your toes as a measure of really good flexibility, and it can be depending on what your problem is. Now, for a lot of people, the issue isn't actually flexibility, it's the ability to touch their toes. Touching your toes is a basic movement pattern, and therefore it's kind of a skill. So there's a lot of different things that go into being able to touch your toes, and that we're not going to get into all of them today, but one of them that may be limiting your ability to touch your toes is if you're here and you're going to touch your toes like this, and that's as far as you can get, you'll notice that my hips are directly over my feet. That's not where they should be, okay? So I will show you how to correctly and properly go to touch your toes to demonstrate a proper hip hinge so that we're using the right motor control strategy in order to touch those toes. So we want to be able to push our hips back as we come down, flex our spine, and touch your toes like this, right? So you'll notice here that my hips are pushed back behind where my feet are, all right? And that's what we really want. Now, a lot of people, especially when you're having back pain, I've actually had a lot of patients who were able to touch their toes, but they weren't comfortable getting into that position, whether that be because their lower back was in spasm and they were afraid to flex it, or they just did not know how to hinge their hips, right? So we're going to kind of go through those two problems step by step in order to get you to touch your toes. So the first thing we have to do is get a proper hip hinge. So all you're going to do, again, like a lot of these exercises we do, we're going to start up standing nice and tall, pull that belly button in, tuck the chin just a little bit. So you should feel already, as you pull that belly button in, some of your lower abdominals working, and then your spine back here, your lower spine working here, right? So we're just going to go through the hip hinge. You're just going to push your hips back and let your chest come forward like this. Okay? Pretty simple, right? Your hips are coming back behind the level of your feet, and your chest is going in front of your toes, right? So obviously, if we just stay here, I still can't touch my toes, right? So what we need to do now that we get this proper weight shift of the hips back, chest coming forward, we need to get comfortable with lumbar flexion. So the way we do that is we go into a hip hinge, get as far as you can, put your hands on your knees, guide your chin down, and slowly flex from your spine, keeping those knees straight now. And we're just going to keep flexing from the spine. So you'll notice here my hips have already been behind my feet, and that has guided me down to being able to touch my toes, right? So from where we started, which was no hip hinge, leaning over, getting all of that flexion from the back and not enough from the hips, that's where we end. That's not going to be good. So what we want to do, stand up nice and tall, pull the belly button in, get the back working a little bit, get that pure hip hinge first. And once we get that hip hinge, slowly bend the spine, straighten the knees, and go down to touch your toes, right? Seems pretty simple. When you go to do it, just because it's simple, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. You may feel an excessive stretch in your hamstrings. You may feel like your back is not very stable as you come into flexion there. And ultimately, you could have some restrictions in your hamstrings or your spine that are keeping you from touching your toes even after going through these steps. And so if that's really, if that's an issue for you where you went through these steps and you're not able to touch your toes still, there may be something more complex going on that you need to get checked out. A lot of times, if you can't touch your toes, that's an indication of back pain, some other types of pain, knee pain, hip pain, and ultimately an improper movement pattern that we need to get fixed to decrease any pain or prevent any injuries further on. If you are currently having back, hip, knee, even upper back pain that just doesn't seem to go away, go ahead and check out youimprove.com. We have a lot of free information on ending all those different types of pain. In addition, you subscribe to the YouTube channel for You Improve PT. We post videos weekly on how to decrease various different types of pain, solve a lot of movement problems, and get your body working better. So please do those things that I just said. Feel free to contact us with any questions. You can do that through youimprovept.com, and get ready to improve your movement and improve your life.